Hey guys, welcome back to another video of What If. And today we're going to be starting a new Walking Dead What If. And that What If is what if Morgan stayed with Rick. And let's just get into it. So we start off with Dwayne and Morgan, who decide to go with Rick to help him look for his family. And then Rick tells them that's a good idea because they should stick together because they'll be stronger together. And he tells Dwayne to siphon the gas out of their vehicle to put it in Rick's so they have more gas. So they do that. And they head to Atlanta, not stopping for the horse this time. So yeah, but when they get to Atlanta, they stop their car because they see something. And they see a big horde of walkers, and they really have no idea what to do, but they see a guy called Glenn waving at them to come to him. And Rick and Morgan see that it's best for them to go to Glenn on foot because the walkers will surround the car, and it'll be more safer for Dwayne because he's a kid and he could probably run faster. So they all get out the car and they run towards Glenn as fast as they can. And when they get in, and the walkers follow them while Rick starts shooting them from behind. And Rick kills a couple, and Morgan would also start shooting a couple while they're covering basically they're covering Glenn and also Dwayne. So Dwayne and Glenn climb up the ladder, but more gunshots start firing, and Glenn tells them that's to spread Merle, covering them with his rifle. And Merle starts shooting a lot of the zombies, and Glenn and also Dwayne and also Rick and also Morgan make it up the roof, and they meet Merle. And Merle tells them that that's a whole lot of noise they caused down there. So Merle tells them just to follow his lead and they won't die. So Merle says he'll take them back to the others, and because there's four more people they haven't met yet. And Merle takes them to them, and those people are T-Dog and Merle, who we already know, Jackie, Andrea, Morales, and Glenn, who we already know. And Andrea gets mad at Rick and Morgan for causing all that noise, and she says that we're just gonna die here because of you. And she starts screaming at them, and Rick says, if that's just gonna cause more noise, and the slim chance we have of getting out of here is gonna go to waste if you just keep on screaming. And Glenn says they'll need gas to get out of here to put in the vehicle, and Morgan tells him that he has gas, that the leftover gas that they couldn't put in Rick's car because it didn't have enough it didn't have enough room for it. So basically they just kind of put the fuel in the car and they just all get out. No Merle getting handcuffed to the roof, no getting guts on yourself with Rick and Glenn, and no T-Dog dropping the key, and no T-Dog versus Merle fight happening. None of that. So basically they just get out of there with Morgan and Dwayne. And Rick would reunite with Carl and Lori once they get back to the camp. And afterwards, we see Shane, who's getting a bit jealous of Rick because him and Lori were together, and he told Lori that Rick was dead. And a couple hours later, it turns to night, and the group are on the campfire talking. And Dale asks Rick about how him and Shane met and how they know each other, because they seem like they're pretty good friends. And Rick says him and Shane became friends in school a while back, and he'd start talking about the old times about him and Shane. He'd start telling stories about it. And Dale says, well, there's someone you haven't met yet. And he said, that person that he hasn't met yet. And Dale tells him tells Rick that person is Merle's brother, Daryl. And Dale says Daryl is out hunting for the group, and he'll be back tomorrow, if he thinks. And the next day Daryl comes back to camp, and Daryl would start getting a bit confused, and he just straight up asks who's Dwayne and Rick and also Morgan, because he hasn't met them yet. And Glenn probably introduces Rick and Dwayne and Morgan because he's known them the longest out of them. And we see Shane, who wants to take out Carl to fish for frogs, and he asks Carl if he wants to go with him. And Carl, seeing that he's kind of bored and he really can't do much here, he goes with Shane. And we see Ed, who's getting really mad, and he starts screaming and arguing with Andrea and her sister, Amy, because they let Carol spend time with them, and Ed doesn't want Carol to spend time with them because Carol might tell them that Ed's abusive a lot, but they already know, so it doesn't really matter. But Ed doesn't know they know, so he starts getting really mad at them. But eventually he just leaves because now he has to go abuse Carol, I guess, for hanging out with them, probably. But Lori would go up. But we see Lori, who's just walking around, and she would see Carl, who's with Shane, and she takes Carl away from Shane, and she tells Shane that his family's off limits to him, and Shane gets pretty mad, but he sees Carol, Amy, and Andrea just hanging out together. But then Ed comes and slaps Carol, and then Shane gets mad and he walks over there and he starts protecting Carol, and he starts beating the living crap out of Ed. And he beats Ed until his face is just full red. And he tells Ed he'll beat him to death. And he tells him if he sees him trying to beat anyone in the camp, he will kill him, especially his wife or daughter. And he tells Ed and he asks Ed if he hears him, then he throws him to the ground. And Ed passes out for a while. But anyways, guys, that'll be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and bye-bye.